Hi, it's Noel from the Meat Mafia Collective again. So we've actually rubbed our pork ribs. We've allowed those to sweat for 20 minutes. So they've gone a nice sort of red color. So we know that that rub's actually soaked into the protein. So the next step is actually to get these into the Masterbuilt gravity fed smoker. So we're literally gonna take these ribs, and we've got 3 layers, which we're gonna use all of them. So you can kind of see there's a base plate here, which is a wide grill, and we've got 2 slightly smaller grills. So we're gonna take our competition ribs. And the reason I'm using all the space is when we spritz at the sort of 45 minutes to an hour point, we actually see all the ribs inside that smoker, so there's no obstructions. We can spritz them, we can look at them, and we can see exactly what's going on with the cook. So our ribs are getting close to the wrapping point, so we're just gonna do a bit of preparation for them coming out of the barbecue. It's actually quite an important step, because if you take them out of the barbecue and you're not ready for the process of wrapping, your ribs start to go quite cold. So I'm just going to show you what I do to prepare for this. So I'm literally going to take an arm's length of foil, and I'm going to put that silver side down, and then I'm going to take a slightly shorter piece of foil, and this is basically to wrap around the bones of the rib on one edge, because they'll start to pull back and we don't want those piercing the foil. So we actually make somewhat of a little shield which goes in the bottom of this wrapping. So we're going to fold that in half now, and once the ribs come out, we're going to lay those on bone side on the shield, and then we're actually going to wrap, and I'll show you that technique. So I'm just going to do 3 of these to basically get prepared for the wrapping of the ribs, and we'll come back and show you how we wrap in a moment. So the ribs have been cooking for approximately 2 hours, 20 minutes, 2.5 hours. So we're going to have a look at the colour now. So what we're looking for is colour, we're looking for the bark to be set, and we're looking for a bit of flex in the rib. You can see that that rub has really set on the surface, a good amount of flex in those ribs. So we know that they're now ready to wrap. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap these. So today we're going to be using butter, honey, raw caster sugar, and we're going to use a splash of pineapple juice and a little spritz of water. So the idea is you're getting some moisture inside the foil so that the meat starts to braise and soften. So we're going to take one side in first, and we're going to take another side in. So this keeps everything contained, and you can still check the rib. So in my opinion, probably the best way to wrap a rib. Okay, so we've wrapped the ribs, and we're going to get these back into the smoker now for approximately an hour and 15 to an hour and a half, and we're good to go. Okay, so we've just wrapped the ribs, and while we're doing that, we're just going to make up a really basic glaze, which I use on ribs quite often. So I'm going to use a rum and Q meat juice product again. This is a really good base for any glaze, so you can add to it and trick it up with other things. So we're going to add a few different things to it today. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically take about a cup of meat juice, a couple of swirls of honey. We're going to add a very, very small sprinkle of sugar. And just for a little bit of tartness, we're going to add some pineapple juice to that glaze. And what you want to do is reduce it so that when you run a spoon through it, it holds the back of the spoon, and then you know it will actually adhere to your ribs as well. So we're going to mix that up, we're going to take that to a stove, we're going to simmer that down and get that ready for when we actually glaze the ribs. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half in the wrap phase now, so we're going to take these ribs off, we're going to have a look, we're going to glaze them, and then we're going to make a decision around whether we need to put them back on to set the glaze, or if they're done enough for us to slice and just eat. So let's get these out onto the board, and they seem to be flexing pretty well. So let's get these over and have a look. Okay, so we've taken the ribs off the barbecue now, so we're going to have a look at them, but first I just wanted to bring your attention to the glaze. So we've actually reduced this down now, so we've got that consistency where it grips to the back of that stainless steel spoon, so we know that's going to hold on to the ribs. So what I'm looking here is a really good flex, so they're flexing really well, so I know that they're basically done. So we're looking at here, we're looking at colour, so all of that bark has stayed on the meat. We know there was no tears in the foil because the ribs have stayed that sort of mahogany red colour. And you can just see the surface of this meat starting to crack here, which I know that's pretty much the perfect consistency. So we've got great pullback on the bones, if you have a look at that. So we've got those bone tips sticking out. So in terms of the glaze, what we want to do is we want to minimise the interference with the glaze on the top of the rib, because that's the rib that we're going to be showing to the people that are eating. So we're going to actually glaze the back first. So you're just looking to get, you don't want to over sauce these, so you're just looking to get a really nice fine coating on the back, just to add a bit of shine. Now we'll just flip these over. So again, we're not over saucing. We don't want the sauce dripping off them when we're eating them. We actually want that sauce to set and hold onto the meat, because that's where all the flavour is. Okay, so that's the ribs glazed. We're going to get those back into the smoker for another 10 minutes just to set that, and then we're going to carve. Okay, so we're just going to, as I said, pop these back into the smoker just to set that glaze. So we're going to put the 2 larger ribs on the bottom grill, a bit more heat there. And we're going to put our competition style ribs in the level above. And we'll come back to those in 10 minutes and get those off to slice. So we're just going to have a quick peek and just see if they're ready. Okay, and you can see that that glaze is set really well. So we're going to pull these off. So we'll just get these onto the board and we'll take these over to slice. Okay, so our ribs are all glazed up and set. We've got them back on the board now. So there's a couple of things about slicing ribs which I want to talk you through to give you a bit more success in terms of the way they look. So the first thing is, if you look at the top here, you can't actually see which direction the bones are going because we've got all that glaze and all that rub on. But also, if we flip it over, we're probably going to lose the glaze. So there's a little trick that you can do to actually mitigate that, right? So if you actually spray your board with water, what it does is you can actually put it glaze side down and it will actually keep the glaze on the surface of the rib. So we're going to put that onto the wet side now, and you can see if you come in close, you can actually see that we can see exactly which direction those ribs are going in. So we're just going to get into this now. So I'm just trying to do single strokes going all the way through the rib. Just make sure I don't get too many frayed edges. So this is the first look that we get at the ribs. So if we have a look in here, we can see that there's a huge amount of moisture still in that rib. We can see there's a huge smoke ring, which is probably about 5 mil deep. So moisture, smoke ring, glaze still adhered. So I'm pretty happy with that.